Haruto and Miharu have loved each other since childhood, but one day he had to move away, breaking the heart of that girl. To keep her from being sad, Haruto promised that when he grew up he would come back to marry Miharu. Hearing these words, Miharu felt a bit happier and said she would definitely become his wife. To fulfill what seemed like a far-fetched dream, Haruto worked hard to get into the school of the girl he loves. However, he saw her with another guy. Because of that, he didn't approach her. Unlike Min, his girlfriend from back then who had good friends, Haruto felt insecure about himself. Since then, Haruto no longer dared to meet Miharu. Three friends were heading home when they coincidentally met two younger siblings, chatted happily for a while, and decided to go eat. But unexpectedly, they got caught up in an incident and everything happened too quickly to be believable. Because earlier, Haruto had also been involved in a deadly accident in the old world and was reincarnated into a new world in the body of a boy named Ryo. At that moment, Min had just saved his girlfriend from a wedding when suddenly, he noticed a strange phenomenon in the sky, which was a sign that the other five had been summoned to this world. Asia felt it very clearly, so she asked Haruto to rescue them before anything bad happened. On one side, Aki and Masato, along with Miharu, had landed in the same place while the other two were nowhere to be seen, making them worried. At first they thought this was Earth, but it wasn't. Nearby there were some slave traders, and they captured the three sisters. As for our young man, he was following the instructions from his friend flying to rescue them. He also saw the traces of the summoning left in the field where the three had just stood. After checking, he realized this was indeed a space transfer spell, and found the childhood friend's phone without recognizing it. Over here the traffickers were locking Aki and Masato in the same cage since they were still children. As for Miharu, she was in better shape, so they were preparing to box her up to sell. She pleaded with them to let her go. But they didn't understand the language in this world. The younger sister saw her being taken away, struggled, but was advised by her friend to stop or else they'd get beaten. Above all, the children in the cage had no goodwill at all. A while later, men arrived at the stopover of the traffickers. Seeing him approach, they immediately went on high alert. All the children in the cage were covered up, avoiding any interference with the trade. Ben walked up to the trader and asked about the person who dropped the phone. Of course the guy didn't say anything, but seeing his shady face, he guessed that they weren't up to anything good. Being alone, he felt a bit worried. Suddenly at that moment, the younger siblings in the cage cried out for help. Ryo heard Japanese and asked about the others. After realizing he understood the language the kids were speaking, the leader set up a formation. Seeing that they seemed well trained and could fight in groups, Haruto was also on guard. Of course they had no intention of letting anyone go, so the battle broke out. He aimed to activate his powers to lure the enemy and stretch their formation. The main target was to capture the leader as a hostage. Not wanting to kill anyone himself, he only injured them a bit. The most dangerous one knew how to use magic, but his skills were still pretty lacking. He couldn't shoot them up. Taking advantage of the dust, he threw his weapon to distract them, then closed in and delivered a finishing blow. Thanks to that, the battle ended when the merchant was captured. He threatened the old man that if he didn't release the captive he would log out. Knowing he couldn't win, the old man surrendered and agreed to let the person go. Masato and Aki were rescued and were astonished that the person in front of them could speak Japanese. Still temporarily in enemy territory, Min didn't want to talk much. Intending to lead them out, he discovered there were still others. The merchant, seeing this, quickly found the key to unlock the door, but Haruto didn't need it. He used his abilities to destroy it quickly. After seeing a familiar figure, he realized this was his childhood friend. It was shocking, and he didn't dare to reveal that he was an AI. Of course that girl couldn't recognize him as the boy she loved back then, since he was in the identity of Ryo in this world. The young man led the three sisters to safety and then contacted Asia, saying he had rescued the little ones they requested. Both sides would regroup before sunset. Secondly, Asia received orders to bring Celia along. As for the others, after being rescued, they felt much safer. The sky here was also more beautiful than in the crowded city, causing everyone to stop and admire it for a moment. By the way, Miharu wanted to ask a few things. First, she had to thank him for coming to their rescue, because if he had been a moment later the three sisters might have been sold elsewhere by now. Ryo asked how they managed to get to this world. The girl didn't know either. She just saw a circle appear and then was brought straight here. When it came to introductions, Min didn't know how to lie, so he said he was Haruto for now, but without a last name. Hearing this familiar name, both sisters were shocked, but couldn't be sure if what they were thinking was real. Aki hated this name because she thought Min had abandoned her in loneliness before. Ryo remembered that Haruto hadn't had the chance to see his younger sister again when their parents divorced. Knowing his little sister didn't like his name, he let Aki call him Ryo. Masato was curious why his brother only had a first name and no last name. At the moment, Min was living with two souls, so he didn't know how to describe it anymore. This kid introduced himself as Aki's younger brother, making Haruto slightly suspicious about life, thinking that Haruto's mother might have remarried and had this little brother. Turns out we're half siblings, but now that I'm Ryo, I don't really care. It's getting dark, so he suggested we find a place to rest first. We can't stay here forever. He brought along a multifunctional rock house which he can whip out anytime. The other three trusted him completely and followed after he picked a suitable spot. He just unleashed the rock house, and while it looks rough on the outside, it's surprisingly cozy inside. Plus it has excellent camouflage skills, making it very safe. At that moment, Celia was brought back by Icab, shocking the others as people from this world can fly. Rio's bride rushed over worried for her beloved, but he was fine. The others were confused by the couple speaking a strange language, only able to watch intently, knowing these were the ones Asia mentioned. She also came over to introduce herself. Despite the language barrier, Rio acted as a translator, introducing names and everything to the teacher. Although they didn't understand anything, they noticed Celia's facial expressions, realizing she was greeting them, so they smiled back. Rio stated that she was the one who saved him. Seeing how difficult it was for them to communicate, Asia helped a bit using her abilities to align their languages by giving each of them a light kiss. Successfully linking Miharu and Celia like that saved a lot of effort. Rio repeated it several times. Of course this skill is only temporary and he didn't know when it would lose its effect. The others were quite surprised that she could do that. She explained that this was the language Haruto knew, so she did too. After that, they were all invited to eat because Asia said she was hungry. The three others found the house's style quite unique and were intrigued. From the outside, it seemed small, but once inside, it felt much larger. There were enough rooms for everyone, so there was no need to worry about living arrangements. Rio also let the three use the bathroom comfortably, since there was hot water. There the girls started sharing stories about Haruto, whose real name is Rio, and conversely Asia is the spirit bonded to him. Celia said she just met her today, so she didn't know much more. Too many sudden things happened, making her a bit overwhelmed. Aki then came in to ask about it, and Miharu translated that the girl wasn't like them, but a spirit. After witnessing her flying and translating for the two older sisters, the younger sister naturally believed this was real. Later, when he went outside to prepare food, Masato realized that they had been summoned to this world through a special ritual. Haruto also shared about his past life, saying they could treat this place like a game, except it's a one-life game, so they had to be careful. Looking back now, he felt scared in front of the crowd this morning. Luckily, men came to save Rio. He was sure that if he hadn't shown up, the three sisters would likely have become slaves. The girls also stepped out to compliment how great the bathroom island. Celia has never tried anything like this before, complimenting how skilled Rio Island. Because her body is quite small, those kids lent her a sports outfit, since who would wear a wedding dress on ordinary days? Speaking of clothes, Rio thinks he should buy a few more sets for everyone to use. Soon everyone will be living here, so he needs to prepare quite a lot. Miharu is worried about the money, but he should let her know he has enough. Although it's not much, it's still enough to buy. He thinks he'll go to the city, but Celia wants to sell the wedding dress to make extra money. For now, let's set that aside and eat first since it's getting late. After eating, the group gathered everything that had happened. The girl asked quietly if it was possible to return to Earth, and he was unsure. It's very different from being reincarnated into this world. Aki also talked about his accident, and how when he woke up he realized he was in the body of a child, so his experience wasn't helpful for these three. Based on what they have, Celia thinks the 6 pillars of light today represent the 6 legendary gods. Rio thinks the same because 1,000 years ago when the demon war ended, the 6 holy gems created pillars of light piercing the sky. The chosen ones will return to their homeland and lead the world in place of the 6 gods. Miharu added more to the discussion. There are still 2 friends lost. He's not sure but can only sense their presence. She fears that the couple Kia might not be as lucky as her to be saved by Rio. At this point, Asia runs out of energy, so she hugs Haruto to recharge, making Celia jealous. He tried to explain, but the teacher was more worried about Kia since Rio hadn't bathed yet. Rio explained that spirits like Asia need magic to survive, and he is linked to her, so he has to absorb energy through her body like this. Celia was still unsatisfied, fearing they might have slept together, using the excuse that there are children in the house so they shouldn't hear. So suddenly Kia came over to Miharu saying that she has a lot of magic, although not as good as the main character but still enough for her to absorb. Kia, although not understanding much, knew it was good to help everyone like this. As a result, Rio had to let those 2 sleep in the same room. Aki and Masato are relatives, so it's the same for them. As for him and the teacher, they each have their own room for safety, even though she prefers to sleep together. Early the next morning, the young man kept pondering about meeting his childhood friend in this world, wondering what she would think if he told her he had memories of Haruto. But after thinking it over, he felt it was better to just stick with the present and live as Rio in this life. It's also because he has resolved to dirty his hands for revenge. Suddenly, Celia knocked on the door wanting to talk privately. Because so much has happened, they can finally have a serious conversation now. It's been a while since we sat down and had tea together like this. She started asking about what he had been doing during the time they hadn't seen each other, really wanting to know how they met and made a contract with Asia. Besides that, there's also the matter of the previous life. Rio noticed the teacher losing her composure, and answered each question one by one. First he discussed with everyone about his previous life. He possessed an additional fragment of memory from someone named Haruto, that being had lived in the same world as those 3 so they could communicate. Therefore, he recalled the first time he met the teacher. That was also when he first remembered his past life. In his previous life, he was already 20 years old, meaning he was even older than the teacher, but in the present, as Ryo, he was only 16. The timeline seemed to be scrambled, but it didn't matter anymore since everything had happened. Celia now understood why he often acted more mature than her when they were kids. It turned out there were two memories. By the way, she had to thank Ryo a lot for saving her from that wedding thanks to that epic bride-snatching move, and now they could be together. However, she was still quite worried about her father at home. At the very least, she wanted to let him know that she was safe. She thought she should write a letter. That would be fine. Additionally, he suggested that Celia should use a fake name to avoid being exposed when entering the city. The scene shifts to Ray mourning with Sharpie as his bride was magnificently stolen away. This guy was pretty bitter, but still acted like he was fine. After all, the thief had already been dealt with. They just couldn't find Celia yet, so he wanted to seal off the entire capital to investigate, suspecting that the bearded thief had accomplices. In reality, they had all been fooled by Ryo's plan to escape. Only Jay recognized it, but he didn't say anything. He knew the main character and his spirit had erased all traces. He considered this a very bold and impressive move. Sacklie spoke about the prophecy in the Bible that was coming true at this moment. One of the heroes had descended upon their land, and it seemed his father had already secured this person. Pretending to sympathize, he hoped that this hero would become a reliable ally for the Bo Kingdom. At the same time, he added that another gem was also here. Sharpie stated that the person was with Princess Flora and Duke Gustav. Perhaps at this moment those over there were preparing to welcome the hero. Things for this side were gradually becoming more complicated as the other side had Krisha from the Rika Association. To Jay, she was a very educated woman. Although only 15 years old, her existence was just as troublesome as Duke Gustav. Therefore, he wanted to deal with these two individuals as soon as possible. The scene shifts to the territory of the other side, welcoming the hero from another world, Hiroaki, an extremely arrogant guy. The young man calls Rona to sit down. As a man, seeing a woman standing around waiting like this feels wrong. The people here are overjoyed because they never thought they could summon a legendary hero. Therefore, they promise to fulfill all the requests he made. Although he doesn't understand a thing, enjoying such glory is still good. Remembering that day, he was playing games with friends when suddenly, he experienced a teleportation event. As soon as he opened his eyes, he found himself here surrounded by many people. Flora and Gustav introduced themselves as the second princess of the Belgium kingdom. Seeing both the princess and the duke speak to him respectfully, the young man realized he was valued here. If that's the case, he also wants to play the hero role well, even though he doesn't know if he's the real deal or not. Flora mentioned the prophecy of the 6 gods. 1,000 years after the new era begins, heroes will appear before the holy stones. From that perspective, along with the sword in Hirowaki's hand, they believed that the katana he held was really cool. He also pretended to be able to communicate in Japanese. He didn't want to be a mere errand boy, so he had to act a bit more dignified. In his mind, he always thought that when negotiating something, he must appear to be the superior. After eating, he reiterated the matter of being called a hero, asking if Flora summoned him with that holy stone. If so, surely they could send him back home, right? He even fabricated a story about how he had a beautiful life in the other world, but was snatched away by these people, no different from being kidnapped. Being told like that the little princess also had to apologize because the incident happened too suddenly. This young man continued to put on a facade, but the princess's attendant reminded him that he was being rude. Duke intervened to apologize to him for his son, and explained that Hiroaki was misunderstanding this as a kidnapping. He wanted to inform him about the current situation for the young man to understand better what he had to do to return to his friends who were preparing to go shopping. Since the two younger siblings still did not understand the language in this world, they had to stay behind to watch the house. They also set up a protective barrier around so surely no one could detect them. Ryo also appeared to carry Celia for a while. As for Miharu, she would be carried in a small initial manner. It was a bit awkward, but this was the fastest way to move. Plus they could fly, so they agreed. From above, the two girls looked very excited. And since we can fly, I agreed to look down from above. The two girls were really thrilled. While enjoying this beautiful scenery, Ryo also asked if she wasn't scared since it was her first time. She said it was fine as long as she was with Haruto, feeling reassured even though she didn't know he was the one she loved. Just his name alone was enough to trust him. Celia also asked her fairy friend how much she knew about Ryo. She claimed to know everything because their memories were shared, even what was in his past life. It all flows to me through the contract link. Suddenly the teacher felt jealous of Asia because their relationship is so strong. This is what people call spiritual communication, and that is also the essence of the contract. They will be connected spiritually on a high level. Celia really wanted to know more things about Ryo that he didn't tell. It feels like compared to Asia, I'm so lonely, while this girl sees the main character has changed compared to before, and according to her, it's all thanks to Celia. She was the first to gently illuminate the broken heart of Haruto when he regained his memories. That's why at this moment he can trust everyone. Asia hopes her friend will still treat Min like before, even though he has started to change after landing. They began to give the teacher a new name in public before entering the city. He needed to change their hair color to avoid being exposed. This also helped everyone feel more confident without worrying about being watched. So they gave Miharu and the teacher each a color change to enter the commercial city. They found it indeed bustling. Just like the rumors, the childhood friend was also curious about the items being sold. Rio explained that at this Rika association, there are many types of food similar to Earth, including pasta and many other famous dishes. For now, they would go to choose clothing first, and after that they would stop for food. Inside, the four of them were welcomed by Chloe. Seeing her so enthusiastic, Min also asked her to choose clothes for these three people. He himself would go buy some other things. That way it saves effort. Celia was incredibly excited trying on all the beautiful dresses, and she received very thoughtful advice from the service ladies after choosing the outfit of the female magician. Miharu also praised that it suited her very well. The teacher also chose a few outfits for her friend that were equally beautiful. Due to her model-like figure, she looked good in anything. After choosing the three girls, still had to buy clothes for the two at home. As for Rio, he was going around gathering information but found nothing valuable. After finishing shopping, Celia also asked for some paper and pens to write a letter to her father. Just then, that guy returned, so he asked her if she was done choosing. Unexpectedly, she was still picking out clothes inside, so she was a bit shy. Rio said to not mind him and just choose comfortably. Miharu also asked him to try on clothes because she saw a set that suited him very well. He also hadn't bought any set yet, so he decided to take it. The teacher saw that and praised the girl for her good eye. Chloe continued to offer promotions for men's clothing. If purchasing more than 2 items, there would be a discount, so they had to grab another set because the association knew how to sell so well. The scene shifts to Arya, who is reporting back to her master about how it will take some time before the border closure order is lifted. The girl guessed that Belle Chu, wanting to control information this much, while having nothing to do, the maid advised the young lady, "Our family should forget about work and see this as an opportunity to rest." They also talked about the incident. The news about Celia is truly unfortunate. Arya, being her old friend, feels a bit sad recalling the past. According to her, the one behind this incident must have a grudge against Duke Arbor, but they didn't expect that amidst the current chaos, a hero from another world would appear. Currently they are discussing it in the castle, talking a lot about this incident. She wondered if perhaps in this galaxy they could summon a hero too, so she wanted to return quickly. In the evening, men's group just came back with a ton of outfits. These are all clothes that Celia and Miharu chose. The teacher is very happy if the two of them like these outfits, and they just finished changing, looking very fresh. Aki also tried on an outfit and thought it looked really cute. Masato's boy clothes are quite cool. Looks just like Rio, so she probably likes it. Asia must be the saddest one, cause she can't buy clothes like them, and there's still no information about her two friends caught in the teleportation incident, but it was confirmed that the hero's appearance aligns with the prophecy, so she thought their group must have been summoned. Could it be that Sasuke and Takahisa were summoned here as heroes at this sensitive time? If that's the case, they must be in some country right now. According to the prophecy, there will be 6 heroes, and those 2 are the chosen ones. The BA sisters here likely got dragged in because they were nearby. According to Aki, really wants to find them, and Rio advised her to learn the language here first. Miharu also thinks that's the best idea. Instead of relying too much on Asia, the next plan men proposed is to meet someone they know to seek advice. Those are people from the elf tribe. Temporarily, setting that aside, because Asia is hungry, he also has to go to the kitchen to prepare food. Aki finds it strange that those 2 siblings are so close because she thought before that the older sister didn't like boys. The teacher was also jealous, so they let her cook together. A few days later, Min wants to go to the elf village, so he reminds everyone at home to be careful. They think they might be able to speak the language in this world. Before he returns, Asia will stand up to protect everyone, and the teacher also wishes Min a safe journey. Based on the item received before, this young man can teleport straight to the elf village without facing any obstacles. After going a bit further, he meets a younger sister who also comes from Japan like him. Latifa is extremely happy to see her brother again, so she rushes to hug and welcome him back, making him very happy, along with other adorable little sisters, who came one by one because they sensed Rio's presence. The cute ones approached one by one, sensing that this was Rio due to the recent fluctuations in magic. The elf village knew this young man had returned. Everyone adored him, so they rushed out to welcome Rio and inform him that he was there for serious matters. Hearing that, Sarah went to inform the elder chief, and soon everyone was present to understand more about the situation happening outside. It was related to the teleportation incident. Of course, the village elders knew about the 6 pillars of light, but they couldn't have guessed that he was a hero from another world. He thought it was a kind of time magic similar to the system of summoning people from other worlds. The elders also asked why he believed that those 6 people were not heroes of this place. He talked about the fact that 3 of those summoned people were in his area, yet they were not heroes, just unfortunate. They got caught up in the teleportation incident because of 2 other friends. From there, things became more complicated, asking why he could still communicate with them. Latifa was very shocked when her adoptive brother revealed that he knew the language those people spoke. She wondered why he didn't mention it earlier to ask more about it, but she wanted him to tell her everything when the time was right. She just hoped the village elders would temporarily accept this reason to continue discussing the matter. Although a bit surprised, everyone still agreed and Rio continued to make his request. So he promised to try to help because he wanted to be a guardian spirit for those living with him. To explain this, he said he would take them back to Japan. To do that, he needed to gather information from many places. While he himself was the main resource that could protect his family, he was currently limited in action, always thinking about their safety. If he could be protected by friends here, he would feel more at ease and could also search for information related to the time-warping magic he mentioned. They knew nothing at all. As for that request, of course, they asked if besides the 3 that were summoned, there were any other AI. He shyly said that it was his teacher who was forced into a political marriage, so he rescued her. Hearing that, the 4 girls were thrilled to know that Rio had stolen a bride on her wedding day, just like a hero rescuing a damsel in distress. The 3 elders laughed like it was harvest time because this guy was so funny, also praising him for being popular with many beautiful girls. In general, no one opposed Rio bringing people over, but they wanted him to ensure that after those kids left, they would keep the village's secret or else they might face trouble. He agreed to explain the situation to those people. By evening, the 2 siblings had a heart-to-heart talk about today's events. Latifa certainly understood everything Rio said. He should have asked for her permission before talking about his past life, but due to the urgency of the situation, he had to apologize to his lovely little sister. She understood that if her brother hadn't done that, the elders would have had a hard time thinking. He wanted his little sister to keep the secret about having memories of a past life like him. Latifa felt a bit sad because initially this was a secret between the 2 siblings, but now others knew too. Hearing that, the young man smiled because this girl was just too cute. To comfort her, he said that even if others knew they were Japanese, his heart wouldn't change. At the same time, it reminds me of my past life where I liked my childhood friend and had a little sister I had to part with when my parents divorced. Fate seems to have arranged for them to come to this world and be by my side. My childhood friend is Miharu and that lonely little sister is named Aki. Soon I will bring them here. So I hope Latifa will get to know them and help them out. He explained that he hadn't told those 2 about being Haruto from the old world because he had already died. Right now, they are facing an unimaginable situation in a strange place, so suddenly bringing up the past would be difficult to talk about. So I asked my sister to keep it a secret, not to mention my past life. Latifa agreed to the request, wanting to know his true feelings. The fact that he claims to be an AI in his past life will be a new secret between the 2 siblings. Hearing that, Latifa was very happy to be considered someone special to him. This makes sense since they both died in that fateful bus and reincarnated into a new world. By the way, the next morning, everyone in the village came to see them off and asked Rio how long he would be gone. He wasn't sure, saying he would return in 2 months to gather more information. Latifa felt a bit sad because they had just met and already had to part due to the one-way teleportation device. So when he returned, he had to fly, which took some extra time. In the Galactic Kingdom, Lislot had just reported what happened in the capital Belchum to the king. He also wanted to ask her for another task, though it was a bit urgent. He wanted Lislot to go to Duke Gustav's place to learn about the hero there. She already knew that her country had someone summoned from the Holy Gem, a girl who was about her age. By the way, he wanted to organize a welcome party for this hero and invite neighboring countries to mingle. Who knows, those people might have some connections. The hero of Belchum is that guy Haruaki. Hearing this name, Lislot found it quite familiar but didn't dare to say anything. She asked about the name of the female hero in her country and learned that it was Sasuke, the friend from Miharu's group who was being sought, and she was currently here, so the king allowed them to meet. Scarlet also brought her friend Kia to meet the hero. Upon seeing that figure, she was shocked by her appearance. In the forest, where Miharu's group was located, a horde of zombies, created by the wires, appeared. This guy seemed to sense them too, wanting to send the zombies to capture them as materials. The time for this was at sunset tomorrow, so everyone split up to find the main's protected house. Kia himself was simply waiting for good news from the zombies. The next morning, Celia was still focused on teaching the 3 kids, Kia, the language of this world. They were all students, so they quickly understood the simple sentences. Masato is pretty happy to be praised for picking things up in just 2 weeks. Asia is currently sleeping while Aki and Miharu have to prepare food. This girl is wondering when Haruto will come back, making her little sister uncomfortable hearing that name. On top of that, her older sister has been talking about him non-stop since yesterday, as if she loves him. Aki wants to return to the old world since a new term is starting. Takahisa and Masato are currently her family along with her mother. Her brother Kia and sister Sasuke have gone missing. She herself doesn't even know if she will return to the old world with her only family member. Hearing that, Miharu comes over to comfort her because she is actually very scared too. Luckily, Aki and Masato are still by her side. Otherwise she would be very lonely. Plus, during this time, Min and 2 of her friends Kia are taking care of her, so she has been less worried. Rushing to find a way home won't help. First, let's just follow Haruto's advice. He is trying very hard for her, so all they can do now is wait for him to return. Aki asks what her sister thinks about that guy making Miharu embarrassed. Ever since then, she has felt strange, because her sister doesn't like to interact with boys. Assuming the reason is that her brother has the same name as the guy she hates in the old world, Miharu can't deny it, making her little sister furious. This older sister is still thinking about that guy, considering it an insult to Rio to be compared to her terrible brother. Miharu, being gentle, has to apologize to her little sister for making her remember unpleasant things. Aki, after calming down, realizes she was wrong, so she wants to go cool off a bit. She goes outside thinking she has to apologize to her sister for raising her voice. It's also shocking that Miharu still loves that guy a lot. At that moment, the zombies detected her just as her sister arrived and saw them. Lacking knowledge about this world, both of them were caught off guard by the sudden attack. The monster was enhanced, possessing extremely fast speed and strength. Luckily, Asia had come out to protect this couple. A loud explosion alerted Celia to what was happening. She ordered the little guy to stay inside the house, and Masato understood the seriousness, so he obeyed. The creature, after taking a hit, was not dead but only slightly injured. Secondly, Asia mentioned that they might have been attracted by the magic from her barrier, assigned by Haruto to protect. She also called the other two to go inside the house first. However, there were 3 of them, so they couldn't do much. Luckily, Celia was still in the house and could fight, so she helped out. Just then, Rio arrived as well, so he stepped up to handle everything. He was pretty pissed off at these monsters for daring to mess with the people he cared about. He was also curious about the enemy's reaction, asking Asia if she knew what they were, but she wasn't sure, only confident that this group was created by magic, with the stronger one being much darker than the 2 beside it. They weren't stupid either, so they asked her to deal with the weak monsters while they would take on that sneaky creature. Immediately it ran away, knowing it couldn't win. The result had been dealt with by Haruto. Their speed was indeed fast, but their attack was very simple. Threatened with their lives, it showed fear. He tried to tell the main character that after this they would retrieve 3 gems, proving Asia's suspicion was correct. Based on the movements earlier, he deduced that it wanted to be killed rather than controlled. Upon arriving at Aki's house, he bowed his head to apologize for his recklessness that endangered everyone. Miharu stood up to defend him, leaving Haruto with nothing more to say. As the young man beat the drum, he shifted the topic to the delicious food. Then everyone enjoyed the meal that afternoon. When Jay came to check the results, he saw that the zombies had captured quite a few warriors. However, one group hadn't returned, so he thought they must have been defeated since his current numbers weren't enough, so he wanted to temporarily use the captured ones to create more subordinates for himself. At the moment, Latifa was thinking a lot about that. Whether to tell Rio's friends that he was also Japanese, like them, was a dilemma. He then used teleportation to bring the whole group here. Everyone was shocked as they arrived in an instant, which was indeed very convenient. The scene before them made Miharu feel lighter. Her foster, sister, and 3 friends had come to greet them, much to Masato's delight, as he didn't expect to meet beastmen here. Isa was still revered by everyone, so she went to perform a ritual that surprised the group. Rio explained. The elven village revered high-level elves who could transform like Isa. In general here, she was no different from a deity. Knowing her noble identity, the girls apologized. Because they had always talked casually, Isa didn't mind. To be honest, she didn't really like formalities. Celia approached to get to know Latifa because she'd heard a lot about her from men. Besides, the teacher also liked fluffy things, soft things like Latifa's tail, so she asked to touch it, knowing that she liked small beastmen. This place would surely be a paradise for them. Hearing that, those 3 reacted as she spoke Japanese again. Rio was also shocked, not expecting his cute sister to be so confident. She revealed that she was like her brother, having memories of her previous life. On this occasion, Latifa even volunteered to become a teacher for everyone. So she asked again if her little sister was sure about revealing this secret. In fact, the day before, Latifa had already told the villagers and friends. She decided to face her fears, but now she had her beloved brother, so it was okay. She wanted to help Rio, so standing up to teach writing and acting as a translator would be better. Hearing that, it made her quite happy, thanking her lovely sister Sarah for mentioning that she would work with Latifa, helping the 4 of them adapt to life here. And then Ophia and Alma also stepped up to get to know the 2 younger siblings who only caught bits and pieces of what was said. As for the introduction, they understood, so they also mentioned Miharu introducing her to Latifa, who was impressed by the girl her brothers secretly loved. After that, they all began to explore the village, where the residents were still quite wary of humans, even though they had been informed about this beforehand. Aki and the others felt they were being avoided and wondered if the villagers were afraid of them, particularly due to the incident that had happened with the Rio village. They hadn't mentioned it yet, so they were very curious. He said this village lived separately from the rest of the world. It was rare to see so many people coming here, so there was a bit of fear. Suddenly, a little child came out tugging at Miharu's skirt. The little bunny also came over to say what she wanted for Latifa, who found their clothing so strange that it made the child curious. She knew she had to meet the elder soon, so she wanted to dress a bit more formally. The little sister remarked that the outfit was very cute, making Miharu delighted. She teased that she really liked the bunny ears. the villagers began to come out and greet them warmly. Although they were a bit shy in communication, they could still say a few basic sentences they had been taught. Looking at her big sister, she said she wanted to be friends with her. Miharu agreed and allowed the younger ones to call her by her name for convenience since they were all Japanese. So both sides had a lot they wanted to talk about. They promised to share everything with this little sister once they settled in, which made her very happy. Aki and Masato also joined in that evening to welcome their new friends, and the village elders organized a feast. Seeing so much delicious food, the little brother was very excited. Latifa also said that since this was their first gathering, they didn't need to worry about the little details. They just ate to their heart's content. Afterward, they went up to the elder to officially announce to the villagers. The new residents Celia were happy to see so many interesting people. Naturally, no one opposed the idea of letting the benefactor's friends stay here. Isa remained the center of attention, welcomed back. The three adults showed goodwill towards Celia's group from their perspective. Even though they came from another world, people were still people. There was nothing different. The joy was doubled when Miss Ria appeared. This little spirit was very happy to reunite with Rio and Aisa. The villagers were at a loss for words when they saw her appear. After the introduction, everyone began the feast. The food included dishes from both this world and Japan, with plenty to choose from. At first, Aki couldn't believe it, but when he saw his favorite cake here he was thrilled. It turned out that Latifa had prepared these dishes because she thought they would miss home. Rio was still being cared for by the lovely little sisters. Seeing this, Aki also mentioned how much he was loved by everyone. This came from his kindness. His adoptive sister also said that Rio was her pride. Aki felt really jealous hearing that, wanting to find her missing big brother, but unfortunately, she still couldn't determine where Takahisa landed. The only thing she could do now was learn the language quickly. That way, who knows, she might be able to find her brother on her own after having fun. Everyone was led back to the new house. It was much larger than the main character's stone house, and of course everyone would have their own room. The girls knew that the girls' club was tired, so they invited them to soak in hot water. Masato, hearing that Chung was also excited to go, but the girls enjoyed themselves while he had to wait. That kid had to wait for them to finish showering before he could go in. At this point, Aki finally believed he was in another world. Watching the strange little SAOs, he wanted to go home. Miharu also believed that one day he would return, but not now. The little brother was quite curious and didn't understand how his big brother could be so strong. He explained, "It's because I have something to do, so I have to be like this." Hearing that, Masato also resolved to be like Rio, to be able to stand up and protect the girls. At this point, the girls had finished showering, so Min invited the little brother in. Celia had finished writing the letter to her father, just needed to deliver it, and then it would be done. The next morning, she woke up quite early and saw the main character practicing swordsmanship. Knowing that the young man had tried very hard suddenly, Celia felt a bit worried. The teacher said the atmosphere here is very good, so I woke up early to explore. He also apologized for making her wait too long. It should have been that I took her home to send the letter to her father early, but I still had to take care of those three people, so I couldn't do it yet. So tonight he wanted to go right away so that Celia and her family wouldn't worry. The teacher asked Min if he was pushing himself too hard, because earlier, he saw him practicing quite exhaustively, not to mention the case of returning Miharu to the old world. Besides that, there were other matters related to him, asking if his desires might affect his direction. Seeing Celia care like that made Rio also thank him, saying he had arranged his work reasonably, so he wasn't busy at all since the day he decided to steal the bride. He promised to take care of the teacher, so after finishing the task of sending the letter, he began to look for information to help those three kids return to Earth. Hearing that, the girl felt reassured. She said if there was anything she needed help with, just let her know, because as a mage with the most mana in Belgium. Hearing that, Min also smiled, making her think he didn't believe it. Celia affirmed that no matter what happened, she would always stand by his side. Right after that, they had to leave quickly because it took quite a bit of time to fly. Even though it wasn't a separation, the other still stood to see them off as expected. Latifa told her big brother to go comfortably while she would take care of everything here. Miharu knew they would be gone for a day, so she prepared food, feeling shy like a wife sending her husband off. Haruto saw so much. Surely she had to wake up early to make it, so he thanked Miharu. She modestly replied that she only could do this. While everyone always relied on him for even the smallest things, for this reason, she promised she would definitely repay him one day. So seeing a lunchbox like this was already precious. She said she would eat it all, because she actually really liked the food this friend made. Hearing that made her happy while being teased by those kids. It's just like she's a real wife. Masato promised to wait until the elder brother returns. He'll try his best. Aki smiled and said goodbye to him and Isa. Then he had to carry the teacher on the road while Miharu prayed for their safety. Latifa thought that when those people returned they would help Aki and Masato speak the language of their father, which surprised Rio as the scene shifted to Lislot. At this moment, he met the hero of the Belchun Kingdom to invite him to the banquet. Hiroaki stared at the pretty girl in front of him. She was indeed captivating, and on top of that she spoke very eloquently. The others were very interested in the invitation but still let him decide. There was plenty of time, so Lislot wasn't in a hurry to speak. He could think about it and answer later. This young man saw it as an event in an anime with two stunning girls beside him. He was surprised to see even more amazing people. To save face, he acted dignified, knowing this was the hero announcement party. He agreed to participate on the condition that Lislot had to be present. After a day's flight, the three of them arrived at home. Celia looked at it from above. She was very excited to be in the place where she was born and raised, which had a hidden secret. Only family members knew about it. Putting the letter in there, her father would definitely find it. Hearing this, Rio planned to sneak inside. Relying on elemental magic, they cloaked themselves so the soldiers wouldn't notice. Celia then found the secret passage to enter. The lights in here were connected to the lights at her father's location, so he realized that there was an AI involved. The three of them knew this, so they sped up, hearing her father's voice calling her. This daughter had to hold back tears in her heart to leave. Meeting now would only cause more pain for both sides. Her father at his desk. Seeing the letter there, he opened it. She let her parents know that she was still fine and apologized for running away from the wedding. Besides that, she hoped they wouldn't worry because she was currently living in a safe and peaceful place. With friends, she blamed herself for being an ungrateful child and wanted to explain everything to her parents when they met again. The wish for her family to be healthy moved her old father. He hurried off to find his daughter but couldn't see her anywhere. The soldiers approached and asked. He didn't dare to reveal anything for fear that others would find out Celia was still safe. To this father, his daughter was everything, so he didn't blame her and hoped to reunite with her soon. Up high, the teacher also cried, but this was okay. They didn't necessarily have to meet face to face. She also thanked Rio and Isa for bringing her back like this. Next, he promised to let their whole family meet in person one day soon. The scene shifted to Lislot's ship, which was on its way to another city. Above them, there was a black dragon that looked quite dangerous. Luckily, it didn't pay attention. The captain was very experienced, so as soon as he sensed a problem, he ordered them to stop. Nearby, Duke Gustav's ship had just set sail. It seemed they were also heading to this nation. Lislot was welcomed by the people from Kia, and Hiroaki, being a flirt, was happy to see her and asked why she was there. The princess and everyone here knew the Duke was busy dealing with the dragon they just encountered, so they had to dock here to figure out their next move. If this continues, it will be very dangerous for everyone in the city. So their group entered a meeting to find a solution. Everyone will return to Lord Boxessa's mansion until the situation improves, transitioning to the scene with May. At this moment, he was walking around the city with his teacher and it was bustling even without any officials. After walking for a while and not seeing Asia anywhere, the couple turned back to look for her, only to find her eating grilled meat with someone. Haruto was going to pay, but the owner said it was okay because that young man from Kia already settled the bill. He also invited them to eat with him, since there were many delicious dishes and it seemed like his friend from Kia had just hit the jackpot. After being assigned to prepare the hero's ship, they were quite surprised because the people they needed to find might be nearby. Rio was informed about the welcoming party for the two heroes, but he had no details about their names or genders. Luckily, he had information about their destination, so Celia thought she would go there to check it out. That night, the meeting discussed the dragon flying in the sky. Hiroaki had no idea, so Lislot explained that the creature was something ordinary people couldn't defeat. In the worst-case scenario, all the residents of the city would have to evacuate. For this issue, they would let the manager handle it. Her friend wanted to know what Duke Gustav thought about this. He hadn't really come up with a countermeasure against Hiroaki. He also wanted to hear the opinion of the cute girl from Kia. She suggested that for safety, returning to Amade was the most reasonable choice. Originally, she had authority there since she was the governor of the city and planned to use the magic ship from Kia. This young man was a bit worried that it would provoke the creature, so Lislot considered this in advance. So they decided to travel by land. If luck was on their side, they could reach the party smoothly. Hearing this, the guy from Kia showed interest because traveling only with maids would be too dangerous, so she urged the female maids to follow her. They all had high-level martial arts skills so they could avoid danger to some extent. Roana also reminded him to stay calm since he was asking too many questions. People were hesitant and thought for a moment. Suddenly the young man insisted on going along. Speaking of heroes, how could he leave a beautiful lady? The Duke couldn't object because Hiroaki was from another world. Lislot herself didn't want to deal with trouble, so she refused. This was no different from calling heroes from another country to her side. The young man from Kia seemed to feel accomplished, saying he would act as they wished. Although he couldn't contribute much, he insisted on going with her, and she reluctantly agreed. Duke also swore that if anything unexpected happened, he wouldn't place the blame on anyone. AI Flora had no objections either, so they confirmed to set off tomorrow morning. Hiroaki Zawai said that if the situation worsened, everyone could rely on him. Finally, it transforms into a cool sword, leaving Lislot speechless, not daring to comment. The next day, Arya meets an acquaintance again. They will go together. He is the knight of Duke Gustav. This young man reminds her of her friend's family situation. I truly regret it, and I thank you for letting me know that I have been taken in by the young lady. And I have a new life, so everything is fine. Their group also begins to set off with many soldiers following. Hiroaki sits in the carriage with the girls yawning. Roana also reminds him not to let his guard down, then pets his head like a child. Lislot also strikes up a conversation with Flora, worried that her friend isn't used to traveling on the bumpy road. She tells the princess that if she feels uncomfortable, just let her know, so they can stop and rest. Flora looks a bit shy. She says she's not good at communicating, so everyone shouldn't pay attention. On the contrary, she feels calmer seeing them laugh and smile. Lislot is very considerate and wants to know more about Flora, making it easier to approach her. Just as they are having fun, the string suddenly snaps when Arya senses danger, and immediately the carriage switches to defense mode. She doesn't understand why, but the undead are gathering around them and their numbers are enormous, making Arya feel something is very off. She only senses it when this group starts to move. The undead, following orders from outside, throw stones inside, disturbing Hiroaki and the girls inside, who are in shock not knowing what is happening. Outside, Kia and the guards also use barriers to protect the carriage for the injured to retreat. The captain is handed over to her friend for the front line. As for herself, she will handle the remaining area while the undead swarm around, creating an opportunity for Arya to unleash fire magic. Blowing everything away, she calls on the other maids to cooperate with her to push back the monsters. Since the carriage carrying Kia is very sturdy, just throwing stones won't destroy it, so the girls have stopped creating barriers to switch to fighting. They all have the ability to use enhanced magic. The events are all orchestrated to eliminate Lislot, as she is a significant threat. This guy realizes that the subordinates following him are all strong and the defense from both sides cannot be pierced. Thus he has played a psychological game to scare those inside the carriage into surrendering. With his timid nature, Hiroaki feels very uneasy. Everything around is sealed. Just waiting like this is not good at all, but Lislot advises him not to go out because her subordinates are very capable and will handle everything right away. He says he can't trust people he hasn't met before, so he still decides to go out to see the situation. On top of that, he drags Rona along, so Lislot finds a way to cope and takes Flora with her. She still can't believe that there are so many undead hiding around, as there are no monsters attacking from afar, so it feels quite safe. There were many magical creatures hiding around. Since there were no long-range monsters attacking anymore, it was quite safe. Flora, escorted by her friend, saw Hiroaki doing nothing at all, yet he claimed to be a hero. She was frustrated that she couldn't pull out that sword. For now they didn't know how many enemies were left, so Lislot didn't dare to conclude whether their side had won or lost. Now all they could do was pray that everyone could fend off the monsters. The young man was terrified and cursed this world, saying it was truly awful. The hero was granted a holy sword, but if it can't be used, what's the point in helping Rona's friend? I'll take care of the princess while I help the injured. I need to revive a few people nearby. Arya came over to check if the lady was okay. The battle situation was still very tense, and they could only defend from 3 directions. They hadn't pushed back the monster army yet. Lislot cheered her friend on to finish it quickly. She expressed great confidence in them. The little one would do what she could, witnessing the scene where the prey had no AI protection. The wires from above let other monsters attack Arya. They were truly powerful, and could defeat all the monsters here. However, when the fierce beast appeared, the situation changed. Flora, having been attacked by this type before, she was very scared. Roana called it a legendary monster, which made Hiroaki freak out. There wasn't just one, there were as many as 3 approaching from behind. Arya tried to run to save them, but was blocked by the little demons. The super strong beast also targeted her, taking out the people behind them with a single simple strike from the cart. The horse flew far away. Everyone thought that this was the end, but unexpectedly Rio came to the rescue. To him, these monsters were no different from those little demons, so with each slash they would go down. They suddenly appeared from nowhere. The young man, both handsome and very strong, made the hearts of the girls flutter. Flora found this scene very familiar. The only difference was that this guy had white hair, not the black-haired friend who saved her before. In reality, they were the same person. But concealing his identity, Rio didn't say anything. He continued to use his ultimate skill to blow the giant monster away hundreds of meters. Meanwhile, the maids had to fight hard. Luckily, they managed to take down one monster in a flash. Haruto shattered the body of the remaining one. The battle ended here. The little demons were so scared they called him Dad and retreated. After being rescued, the people over there came to thank them. At that moment, Flora recognized him and was very surprised, unable to believe they were meeting again. In a similar situation to that time, she whispered Rio's name but wasn't sure if this was the one she loved. Lislot also stepped forward to thank him, introducing him while using the name of his previous life to avoid exposure, shocking the little princess. He also greeted Flora and Marquis Gustave, who asked if they had met before. He lied, saying he hadn't seen her, leaving her disappointed. The Duke also thought Men was a noble from some country, but the young man said he was just a wanderer. He was traveling everywhere for training and had no connections with the royal family. Hearing that, he was shocked. It was surprising that a talented swordsman like Haruto didn't belong to any nation in the escort except for Chloe. She knew about Haruto, so she came to greet him, and she was surprised that the little vendor turned out to be a maid. The girl leading this escort Lizlot is the branch manager there, so she's quite happy to have a guest like this. Both sides politely thanked each other while the useless young man stood up to greet them as a hero. Hearing the name Haruto, it's easy to guess he's the Japanese summoned here as a hero. This allows them to communicate in the language of this world, which Min finds quite formal. She feels honored to meet a real hero, and Hiroaki seeing this asks if Min is a knight and praises her for fighting well. Due to the significant difference in status, Haruto doesn't want to offend AI and cause trouble. Hearing this, Lizlot chuckles. She is the one who defeated the Minato beast, so why should they be afraid? Hiroaki also feels awkward, because Dick did nothing, so they called Flora and Rona to a different place to play. The girl is already smitten with Haruto and can't seem to leave him. The young man wonders if she recognizes him since he still looks like Rio. Seeing Roana fine, he feels relieved. Meanwhile, the princess looks a bit sad. The main goal now is to get acquainted with high-ranking nobles like Lizlot, so he tries to help with something. There's a broken carriage that can still be used if redesigned. Arya is also surprised and goes with her master to see. Earlier, while flying in the sky, they accidentally witnessed this fight. Celia recognizes her maid friend and asks the main character to help them since they were friends back in the academy. She heard she's small. She is serving the daughter of the Duke who happens to be Lizlot, and Asia was also asked by the main character to take the teacher to safety first. Meanwhile, he will help get close to those girls. After seeing the carriage only had a damaged roof, Haruto had cut it off in the last battle. They see the main character controlling the wind, so they think this is a magic sword. Not only that, it's a first-class magical artifact, but more accurately, it's a spirit magic that only he can use, showcasing an impressive and powerful debut. He has captured the hearts of the maids. The blonde friend Chloe has kept a secret about a gentleman. She asks if they are so close that Natalie reminds her not to put her friend in an awkward position, while also being very curious about the blonde guy teasing her that she's slow and no one wants to date a girl like that. She retorts that love shouldn't be judged by such things, and Lizlot also comes in to end the argument. She requests water for everyone, and Arya also comes to announce that the carriage has been repaired by Haruto. They can set off right away. Seizing the opportunity, Kozak comes to bring water, then calls his name affectionately to flirt, even deliberately, adding a bit of sugar to sweeten it just for the young man. Hearing this, he's quite embarrassed, surprising the other four girls with his top-notch flirting, so they also exclaim that Lizlot's female warrior team is indeed very interesting, making her laugh. In front of them, there's still a sword blocking the way, and they're unsure how to handle it. It's too big for the soldiers to carry. Hiroaki is at least stronger than an average person, so he showed everyone by throwing the sword far away. This caught everyone's attention. Rio realized the hero's magic is truly miraculous, but then he got outsmarted by that guy. Gustav advised men not to hold back since they had already been saved. Lizlot confirmed this, saying that when they arrive she will send a worthy reward to Haruto. Seeing people bow their heads, he didn't dare to accept. Hiroaki was jealous, telling his friend not to act like that while also lecturing others on manners, leaving Lizlot helpless and sighing. To be honest, that young man is not a hero. He would have been kicked out long ago. He kept insisting he was an AI and acted like he had the most power here, agreeing to let Haruto join, so there was no need to hesitate about returning to the spirit village. After that, seeing his friend standing alone, I invited her to go home since there was no one else here. That night, Masato was out and hadn't come back, making his friends a bit worried. Aki mentioned that when he first arrived here, that kid was very confused, but now he was happier because he got to experience new things. By the way, she wanted to hear about the story between Haruto and Latifa, so she got to hear it as well. Remembering this incident, the others also felt ashamed because they had attacked Sarah back then. Aki stated that that night, when they discovered Haruto was with the Beastmen, they automatically assumed he was a bad guy for making that girl fall asleep. In reality, it was because Latifa couldn't sleep, so Rio did that. Recalling that moment, they also heard men calling Mai's name and crying while sleeping. Hearing this, Miharu and Aki were shocked, as this was the intimate way the three used to call each other in the past. The younger sister couldn't accept this, leaving the others puzzled. Latifa sensed the situation was off, and suggested everyone take a hot bath. Just then, Masato brought back a big fish, but wasn't careful, resulting in making a mess on all the girls. Later, the three beast girls also came to talk to Miharu about Aki's personality while that kid was soaking with her friend, also asking Latifa to tell more about that brother. Remembering, there was a bit of fear, because back then she was a slave and was saved by Rio, so she accepted him as her brother. One could say men brought a different life to her and brought her to this village to find happiness like today. Her friend Kia also apologized for bringing back painful memories. Latifa said, it's okay because she always has her brother Kia by her side now. Looking back at all the hardships they've gone through, it truly is a long, fateful journey that brought the two siblings together, so she really wants to repay what Rio has given her. Aki also somewhat understood that feeling, asking her friend if she had ever been betrayed by someone she loved. Right now, her mother has remarried, and she has a kind big brother and little brother, but she still couldn't forget the deep sadness in her heart over the past time. Aki was always helped by Takahisa and everything, so she wanted to repay him like Latifah's relationship. To find that brother she had to learn elven magic, yet currently there was no progress at all, so she felt a bit disappointed. Feeling useless, Aki got angry with Masato to try to forget everything. Latifah advised her that Aki was overthinking things. With a complicated mind, it would be hard to grasp magic right away. At the same time, she also mentioned that she also had things she couldn't grasp, so Aki didn't need to worry too much. If you're feeling anxious, just share it with me or friends. Clearing your mind like that is better, so don't hide it. Hearing that, Aki was happy and thanked Latifah. A few days later, Aki was always proactive in practicing every morning, impressing her friends. Recently, Aki has made a lot of effort, so Anna thought she should do something to celebrate and motivate Aki. By noon, after getting home, an unimaginable fragrance wafted through the air. Everyone welcomed her back. Ophia even wore Miharu's uniform and praised how beautiful it was. Since her figure was similar to her friend, it looked really good on her. Latifah was also jealous and wanted to try it on, but she was too small for it. That sister then brought out the familiar cake from the old world to celebrate surprising Aki. Aki herself loved eating apple pie, and feeling so cared for, she thanked everyone very much. This was the first time her friends had tried this dish, so they found it quite interesting. Knowing Latifah wanted to wear the uniform for Rio to see, Aki lent her clothes since their bodies were almost the same, so it fit perfectly. Switching scenes to the Empire, the evil rulers were scheming to create a war out of boredom. They discussed the recent issues occurring in the Belchum Kingdom. The Emperor claimed he had resolved everything and had invested a lot in the nation they were about to destroy. At this moment, Jay was present thanks to Lucius handling a few tasks for him. The appearance of Rio shattered his plans. Mentioning that a few Minotaurs couldn't do anything to the young man, Kia asked what he wanted her to do, and he said he was planning to kidnap Princess Flora. The next day, they arrived in Lislot's city, and this girl also prepared a place for the main character to rest before attending the grand party. Arya had to stay back to help the young man get acquainted. Later he went to thank the teacher and Asia for waiting for him. Celia was quite worried, fearing he might be hurt somewhere, so she also checked on him. Haruto felt awkward reminding the girl not to do that because everyone was watching. He recounted the events of being invited by Lislot to stay at a luxury inn so they would rest for a few days. Rio also apologized to the teacher, saying he was completely fine, and asked about Arya, fearing she would recognize him. The young man felt it was impossible because she looked very different now. He just had to act normal, so he also revealed his goal of befriending high-ranking nobles like Lislot. He would attend the party with the royal family from Belchum, which included Princess Flora and Roanna, two individuals who knew about Rio. Hearing that the teacher was a bit worried, fearing his identity would be exposed, and asked if he would be recognized, knowing Flora seemed to have very good senses, so at that moment she seemed to have guessed part of it but didn't dare conclude due to his hair color change. Celia thought they should leave the trading city as soon as possible. Rio knows there are certain risks in this, but if he can connect with Kia, he'll find out if the hero in Galact is the one they're looking for. This is a great opportunity, so they need to build relationships with those in high positions in the country. Celia agrees, reminding him not to let his guard down. If he encounters any difficulties, just tell her for help. Hearing this, the young man asked her to teach him how to behave appropriately with the Kia nobles. The scene shifts to the Duke, who is currently talking with Lislot about the little ladies' night squad. He is very impressed with Arya, praising that servant for being really skilled. This girl is concerned about that hero Kia. He should have stood up to change the situation at that moment. Gustav thinks Hiroaki still lacks experience. Lislot believes if he can lift that gigantic sword, it must be divine power. The puzzling thing is that he cannot draw the sword he possesses. The Duke thinks it's probably not compatible, which is why it's hard for him to use his powers. But if the sword Hiroaki wields is indeed a divine artifact, only a hero can use it. For now, this remains a mystery that needs time to uncover, but it's completely accurate that the young man lacks practical experience. His side definitely doesn't want the hero to be in danger, thinking it's still too early for Hiroaki to fight. Therefore, they're allowing the young man to practice fighting alongside the knights to get accustomed. The previous day was really intense, but let's consider it experience for the future. Lislot suspects the Duke sees the hero as nothing less than a symbol of power. Additionally, they talked about Haruto because if he hadn't appeared back then, everyone might have died. For one person to take down all three Minato in an instant is nearly impossible. The main character must be able to control his sword to do such extraordinary things. Gustav is very curious about the true identity of that magical swordsman. Lislot confirms Haruto's talent is more than sufficient. Moreover, she notices the main character speaks like a noble, suspecting he's hiding his identity due to coming from a fallen noble family he doesn't want to mention. For instance, the future Duke wants to establish a good relationship with Haruto, so he needs to know more about this person. At this moment, Lislot also invites him to join her for the meeting. Gustav feels very happy that she understands things so quickly. Allow her to freely use the Night Squad to investigate the monsters from the previous day, as SAO has been appearing recently and unusual events keep happening, so he's quite worried. Lislot mentions that information about missing adventurers has been increasing lately, so they need to be cautious. Outside, the Duke's son is taking girls out wanting to go to the luxury inn to spend the night, which excites the two girls. But they don't believe they can set foot in that place as it's only for the wealthy. At least they don't have anything except resources, so no worries. They still can't believe what happened the other day, wanting to party all night with the girls to make up for it. Alphonse was extremely annoyed by Haruto's presence because their crew got criticized by Hiro Hirawaki for not achieving anything. That guy was mocking them and they were so scared they hid in a safe place. Putting that aside for now, they headed to that upscale inn to rent a room. Every nice place was already taken, so they started causing trouble. That guy demanded a room change and offered to pay 3 times the price, but it wasn't allowed. Here business relies on reputation, not high payments. Coincidentally, the two girls were already using that spot. The three were sitting and chatting happily when they suddenly heard noise outside. Rio had to check and realized those two were making things difficult for the staff to demand a room change. They also recognized the main character as Haruto and introduced themselves as the Duke's son. Back in school, the main character was looked down upon by Steward, so he didn't want to cause trouble with them. After realizing they wanted to use this room, he decided to move to another place. However, when he saw the two pretty girls coming out, Alphonse stopped him. He intended to invite them to dinner, but was declined, saying they were tired after a long trip. That guy showed his annoyance, thinking it was rude not to accept an invitation from a noble like himself. The others advised him to stop, but Alphonse wouldn't listen. Seeing Haruto not knowing his place, this guy continued to make things difficult for him, claiming he was from a normal family and hoped to be let off. But Alphonse pressed on, threatening to sue for his rude behavior. Haruto knew the local laws well, stating that rude behavior was strictly restricted. However, I haven't even touched him. Hearing that the young man threw a punch but his skill level was like a newbie, quickly he was subdued, forcing Stewart to jump in for a scrap. Seeing these guys were too persistent, he tried to back down but had to teach them a lesson. Soon the two rude guys were knocked out, making Celia and Isa a bit worried that this incident would affect the main character's upcoming relationships. He asked the staff to find someone to deal with these two. Later the incident was reported back to Lislot and the Duke by Arya. The testimonies from witnesses were very clear, so she felt terrible. She didn't want Haruto to see the arrogant face of the nobility, yet this incident happened. Gustav also looked upset because he wanted to befriend them, but they dared to cause such trouble. Currently, Haruto was resting at the inn, so Lislot wanted to go apologize. The next day, that father requested her side to ensure that his son's foolish actions wouldn't affect their relationship. Please send my apologies in advance and I will teach those guys later. Gustav then went home to lecture those two brats. Honestly, I didn't expect anything from them. After what just happened, I'm even more disappointed. I thought I had warned them before, so I decided to strip them of all their assets and inheritance rights. I mean, if they're that stupid, how can they lead anyone? OPMC is dissatisfied, saying he only fights with commoner knights. Hearing that, he got even angrier because Haruto's power was 100 times greater than theirs, yet they still dared to look down on others. They are useless and even ruin things. The young man wanted his dad to retract that statement, saying he would prove he was not useless. He thought that if he had a sword as strong as the main characters, he could take down those Minato from the other day. It sounds funny because they ganged up on someone and in the end they ended up being taken care of. He still gave the two of them a chance to make amends. Currently, Lislot is investigating the disappearances in the forest, so OPMC's task is to help with her work. If the reports come back with good results, then I will forgive them for now, but if not, then fine. From now on both of them will accept being grounded at home, but first they need to go apologize to Haruto and see if he accepts it. The next morning, Min also hoped the two girls would forgive him for the incident. Celia thought that resolving it like this was fine. He was worried that the teacher here wouldn't sleep well, so he suggested letting Aisa take her back to the stone house. She refused, saying she didn't want to separate from her blanket. As soon as he finished speaking, he suddenly felt embarrassed, as if he had just confessed his feelings. Liz and Lottie were also present. The two girls introduced themselves with fake names to avoid suspicion. First, the friend informed about the Duke wanting to thank Men for being lenient with those two fools. If he has any requests, he can just say them. Haruto, being cautious, wanted to ask her to write a letter confirming that yesterday's incident had been clarified. He agreed to act as an intermediary to confirm the letter writing. For now, she wanted to invite him to the mansion as promised. A little later, they arrived to settle things with Gustav. In the document, he took full responsibility for his two sons' mistakes. To confirm, he felt that the content leaned too much towards him and asked if it was really okay. In general, since they started it, the father had no right to defend himself. Each side will keep a copy in case something happens later. Now, since they are asking for help again, there are still two girls by their side that need protection during times like this, and they brought in the parents of those two as witnesses. The Duke hopes Haruto will accept their apology, so he called for Alphonse. Gritting his teeth, he endured it and knelt down to admit his mistakes. Min knows very well their nasty behavior back in the academy, so he didn't want to get into more trouble. The three of them also went to meet Princess Flora with Hiroaki, which made them quite happy. He knew men had just gone through some things, so he invited them to dinner. This time, Lizlot cooked herself, which made AI excited as well. Hiroaki was very pleased that she could make a dish similar to what they had in their world. Not only that, but she also improved it to make it taste even better. Everyone praised the fried rice she made as really interesting. Haruto was also impressed by the amount of food thinking that Lizlot really knew about Earth. Flora asked when he started adventuring. The main character said at age 7 and now he is 16, similar to most people here. Hiroaki found it quite interesting, thinking that the main character's parents must be easygoing to let him explore like that. He said they had been gone for a long time, so he was mostly alone. The reason he liked to travel everywhere was to find that AI feeling close to his parents in that way. The Duke was very interested and wanted to know if he had decided where to stay yet. He really wanted to invite Haruto to live in Belgium because with the main character's skills, making money by working for himself would be easy. At this point, Lizlot also wanted to sponsor the young man to build a relationship, but he refused because he still had to go elsewhere. Men asked about the hero in Galact. She told him it was a girl named Sasuke who Miharu was looking for. For now, the heroes would meet each other and get acquainted. It would be great if they could break through the bottleneck in the search. The Duke also mentioned another hero from Sento Stella would participate. Ryo thought that was Takahisa Masato's brother, which would save him the trouble of searching. The scene shifts to iPhone C, who is with Lizlot's team investigating, thinking the monsters would appear, but they didn't. Lucius, after being asked to kidnap the princess, was present. He said there were no monsters left here, but he himself was much scarier than that. Back in the spirit village, Miharu was training but couldn't stop thinking about Haruto, wondering how he was doing as everyone had told her about him calling Michan in his dreams the day before. She tried to focus on studying magic and had to consider it a coincidence. Later the three friends came and saw Miharu successfully create water, which shocked them. Recently, these sisters had been practicing early in the morning. They didn't know why. She said that while everyone was living peacefully, they should strive with all their might, thinking about this. She wants to do something, so the future won't become a burden. Hearing this, the other three think that if this reason helps Miharu progress faster in spirit magic, it would be fantastic. Sarah praises that progressing this much in such a short time is already considered impressive. Additionally, her friend Kia is connecting with Isa, which might be why using spirit magic has become a bit easier. However, Amma and Ophia don't deny that this is a result of their efforts. Hearing this, Miharu thinks she should thank her spirit friend Kia. When she was younger back here, Isa was also looking in a direction with a worried expression. Selena also came in to invite her friend to try the tea she made. The special thing is that the flavor is exactly like how Haruto makes it. The teacher noticed that her friend was preoccupied with something, but not wanting to worry, Selena Isa kept it a secret. Back in the forest, Lucius and Jay are being misunderstood as hunters of this place. He claims he's not one, and is considered very suspicious. The guy admits to saying they are knights from Belgium. Oh no, he even knows they are here to serve Princess Flora. The captain doesn't know this guy is AI but possesses so much information, so he hasn't attacked yet. Currently there are 20 soldiers, all very young, so they can be used as test subjects. The teammate also remembers that this friend was once a noble in Belgium, asking if he knows any AI among them to spare Lucius. He says not to worry because even if they do know each other, their plans won't change. Alphonse Brash wants to attack immediately but is stopped because he doesn't know the opponent's strength, so he reminds them not to kill that AI and lets the battle begin. Although holding the cursed sword, Lucius doesn't dare to use it for fear of ruining the specimen. In just a few basic moves, many soldiers have been taken down. A bit hesitant, iPhone C wants to prove his strength to the Duke, so he charges in fiercely. Finding this guy too interesting, he also wants to save him for last for fun. The young man Kia tries to activate physical enhancement, but still cannot push back the opponent, so the others have to follow suit. How can there be hope for victory? Even though their speed has improved, their sword skills are not high. Lucius simply needs to dodge, humiliating the entire team of knights who feel looked down upon. AI is also boiling with rage, jumping in to grab some glory. Seeing the numbers are a bit overwhelming, he continues to knock down a few more for fun. When Alphonse witnesses the opponent's overwhelming strength, he realizes defeat is imminent. Believing that Lucius's ability comes from the cursed sword like a charm, he feels quite bitter. Viewing those who use cursed swords as cheaters, he wishes he had one. He would have been strong a long time ago. With only 7 left, knowing they can't win, they all desperately try to find a way to escape. The others were taken away for reformation, and they thank their friend for gathering so many materials. Alphonse tried to call for backup, making the guy a bit bored, thinking they were really stupid for fighting him and still not realizing the difference in strength. So no matter how far you run, you can't escape. In the blink of an eye, he had teleported to block the path. Lucius told them to relax, they wouldn't die right away. Alphonse heard his teammates scream and turned to get slashed away. He was terrified, accompanied by an angry glare. This might be the reason he left it behind. Finally, he complimented him on his beautiful eyes, though they were quite cloudy and dirty. Alphonse begged for mercy, saying he would pay, which left Lucius stumped since he had plenty himself. The scene shifts to Rio, who is being seen off by some girls. Lizlot also sent her thanks to him, saying she would send a messenger to meet the main character in a few days. For now, they wanted to let the young man enjoy his time while he was here. Flora also expressed a desire to talk another time if there was an opportunity. Seeing the lady so formal, he didn't dare to refuse, thinking she had noticed something about him. Hiroaki felt a bit annoyed seeing the pretty girl care about someone else, saying during this time, if he visited Lizlot's mansion more often, there would definitely be a chance to chat. The girl thought she should organize a tea party and invite the guys over. The Duke also had to apologize once again for disturbing the young man like that. Later, when Rona entered the room, she saw the knight looking unhappy, so she asked if Hiroaki was worried about something. He bluntly mentioned that the princess was acting very strangely, but she didn't seem to realize it. This guy had noticed since they were attacked by the monsters. Flora always looked towards Haruto whenever she had the chance. Hearing that she also seemed shy, not knowing how to explain. Seeing this friend cornered, Rowena explained that the princess was their face, and it was understandable to care for their benefactor, and even Duke Gustav wanted to recruit him. Hiroaki felt quite satisfied hearing that, asking the princess if it was true, as if she belonged to him. This guy was also envious of the main character's talent, thinking everyone was exaggerating about him while he himself had done nothing. Rowana understood the knight's personality and sweet-talked Hiroaki, making him happy. She also had to wink at her friend Kia, making Flora secretly glad she didn't have to explain at length to this young man anymore. Back in the forest at this moment, iPhone C had woken up after being punched. Jay also completed his job, turning everyone into zombies. The unlucky young man saw the undead dressed as knights and was completely clueless. At the same time, someone was being transformed, so the answer was clear. Those two over there also approached, intending to finish transforming this guy's body. iPhone C felt nauseous, knowing that a human was turned into such disgusting things, so they asked their teammate why they were keeping this guy conscious. Lucius believed he was quite special, and could be used for enhancement experiments. If it failed, they would lose a gem, but he thought they already had plenty of products, so it was fine. In terms of power, the success rate was low, but fueled by hatred for Haruto, he completed the transformation. That evening, the news about the investigation team still hadn't returned, making the Duke a bit worried, thinking there were strong monsters lurking, hiding in the forest, so the night team might have been held back or they could have gotten lost. A team like that shouldn't have run into trouble. Thinking this, Gustav felt quite frustrated because he wanted to possess stronger pawns, but that iPhone C guy was making him feel hopeless, useless. At Flora's place, she was wondering if she was being too hasty. Originally, Haruto had a different name and hair color than Rio, but she knew that if they really were the same person, she would feel guilty for not having thanked him before when he saved her. But she still couldn't express her gratitude and clear up the misunderstanding, blaming herself for not doing anything, so she really wanted to apologize to Rio for having done terrible things to him in the past. The news about the night team not returning also made Lizlot anxious. She needed to apologize. She thought they should send another team to search, but Gustav wasn't blaming anyone. He had originally suggested sending his team on a mission, and they still hadn't determined whether the missing people had been eliminated or not. He advised Lizlot to stay calm and find a way to resolve it. She considered sending the maid team as well, but the Duke thought searching in the morning would be more effective. However, he was still quite worried about the missing persons incident related to the monsters from the previous day. Although they had driven them away, there were still many left. It was still unclear whether it was coincidental or intentional, and if there were strong ones like Minato left, this was a big problem. Because they only knew that Haruto could take down that type, the Duke thought. If the worst situation occurred, there could be creatures beyond imagination. Lizlot also worried about this. She thought about sending Arya to search. Besides that, she would pick skilled warriors to support. The Duke intended to help, but was declined because this was a matter of safety for those on this side. She couldn't accept any more support. Hearing that, he thought about inviting Haruto to join, feeling a bit shy, but if he was there, surely all problems would be solved. Lizlot knew that, but didn't dare to invite him because she owed him. Now she was asking for help again, and there were still two girls who needed protection during times like this. Now, since they are even more reliant on us, there are still two girls nearby who need protection during times like this. She thinks it's better to call for help from the adventurers rather than return to the two villains who are currently enjoying themselves. After the recent achievements, the things created by the cord are gradually becoming familiar with the body, so they are definitely stronger now. Last time, when we bumped into Rio, Lucius asked to get rid of these guys because I was feeling disgusted. That guy reminded about the attack early tomorrow morning, so don't oversleep, Alphonse. After being transformed into this special form, I still retained my consciousness, but it's a bit crazy. I think I can do anything with this body. Ray calls this a complete corpse, and of course the aggression and combat ability will be better than the others. Although I lost some memory, iPhone C still retains human intelligence. This is a huge advantage, which is why it's allowed outside. Unlike those guys, they're just meant to be used once and discarded because the guy fears he can't control himself. A special individual like this will at least be useful in tomorrow morning's plan. iPhone C. Lucius finds this guy increasingly interesting and wants to see what happens by morning. Isa wakes up to announce something important. She can sense the presence of monsters suddenly. Although she doesn't know the exact location, they must be to the west given such a strong presence. She must have sensed it from afar, but doesn't understand why she's just realizing it now. Isa thinks since yesterday, something very strange has happened outside at the west gate. At this moment, the zombies are starting to be released, causing chaos immediately. The soldiers rang the alarm to announce the situation. When the monsters appeared, Haruto also heard the roar, feeling a bit anxious. Then Celia woke up and asked what had happened. So it's still unclear what's happening outside, so we need to investigate. The little wife knows she'll become a burden. She urged Rio to go ahead. She will stay with Isa, so he shouldn't worry about her. She can handle herself in a few situations with magic. Hearing that, he agreed, thinking they should change clothes and move quickly. The situation outside is extremely complicated. The alarm bell shows no signs of stopping, causing panic among the people. Rumors about monsters appearing everywhere are making them fearful. Going outside to observe, he sees both gates being attacked. The number of monsters is very large. Fortunately, soldiers have been dispatched. Haruto rated the reactions of the people here highly when facing the crisis. It would be chaotic by now if they were in another place. Reinforcements are continuously being sent. So for now the main gate area is safe. Isa senses a large number of monsters at the eastern gate. Each side has some extremely powerful Minato, but it seems the area over there has fewer defenders. Isa could only report that. The decision still rests with Haruto. He observes the situation, and sees that the residents in the eastern area have not yet evacuated. Once they finish evacuating, he says he will go there. He asks Isa and Celia to wait in the room before making further plans. Going outside at this sensitive time, he fears he won't be able to cope if unexpected events occur. The defense at the eastern gate is weakening. The number of evacuees gathering too densely will lead to congestion. So we need to get there to buy some time and help the people reach safety. The female knight team of Lazat. At this moment, the area is divided and only Chloe is defending here, so she's being pushed back by overwhelming numbers. The girl is continuously firing light bullets at the enemy, wondering when reinforcements will arrive. How can they hold on like this? Behind, the civilians still can't move far. If the defense line collapses, now many lives will be lost. Just when things were tough, Haruto descends from the sky and uses his spirit sword to slash all enemies away from the city gates. He asks to join the others, surprising the younger girl. Chloe wonders what's going on. He realized that the gate was being attacked for the second time, so he came to help before the reinforcements arrived. He wants to reduce the number of monsters to a safe level, saying he will fight on the front lines if any get past. He asks the others to handle it, but honestly, he alone is more than enough to protect this place. Each slash is accompanied by terrifying power, witnessing that the soldiers inside are left in awe. Having someone of this caliber is truly a great help. Lazat is coordinating the reinforcements efficiently. Information is essential. The night team needs to report everything happening outside to me. Only from there can I come up with reasonable strategies. Natalie states that according to the observations from the magical communication device, at the eastern gate, there are many monsters including Minato, and the girl can only see them breaking through. As for what happens next, they're at a disadvantage in terms of numbers at the moment. Therefore, they cannot send reinforcements immediately even if they mobilize defenders and adventurers. They might be blocked by the crowd of evacuees. The main maid team is at the western gate while a few are responsible for evacuating civilians, so they might get there if they finish the job. Lazat requests Natalie to go help out before it's too late. I have the Duke's Knights protecting me, so everyone doesn't need to worry. The female knight team should focus on the main task. Hearing that Natalie also enhances her physical strength to move quickly, news of a knight standing out to push back. All the monsters at the eastern gate have been reported. Currently the situation in the city is stable. Ray and Lucius successfully infiltrated for the kidnapping plan. From here they remind each other that when they receive a signal from the Minato outside, the whole team will move. Ray senses the presence of a humanoid spirit beast at the center, guessing that the defense forces will move to the front line where the situation is more stable. However, it feels very strange. The strong monsters behind are completely still, not acting as if they're waiting for something. The soldiers also ask the girl about that young man who is so badass. He has been fighting alone without showing any signs of fatigue. At this level the words outstanding can't fully describe his talent. However, Chloe still asked everyone to pay attention. No matter how strong they are, they still need to rest and recover. At that time they will step in, not letting the monsters advance any further. Rio observed the humanoid monsters could easily get through, yet they didn't. Asking the AI from afar if there was anything unusual in the city, it confirmed everything was fine. The crowd in the square was thinning out, indicating they had successfully evacuated. The movements of the undead at the west gate remained the same. Hearing that, he felt reassured to continue fighting. At this moment, Natalia and Cosette had also arrived to support. When asked about casualties, it was confirmed there were none, as Haruto had cleared them out before Annie got through. Witnessing his heroic demeanor, these two ladies were utterly captivated. However, seeing him fight for too long, the whole team planned to call him back to give them a chance to shine. Rio stepped back and received many thanks. As the situation began to improve, the young man requested to leave the battlefield because his teammates had not yet evacuated and were waiting in the inn, so he was a bit worried. To ease his mind, he declared he would take down that Minoto. According to the rules here, he was a civilian, so the team had no right to stop him. Hearing that, it also unleashed a long-range attack, piercing the main monster, shocking everyone. To be sure, the young man added another hit before finally leaving. Cosette saw this and loved him even more, praising his cool factor. Natalie had to push her friend aside to make way for the cool guy. Going to pick up teammates at the west gate protected by Arya, everything was still under control. She noticed this number was greater than the monsters attacking in the forest, wondering where they came from without being detected by the AI for a clean sweep. She needed to use wide area magic but was afraid of overextending herself as her own power would run out of mana first. Just like on the other side, the humanoid monsters in Minoto had not attacked at all. Just then, a black one roared, signaling the plan for the kidnappers to begin their work. Simultaneously, the strong monsters charged in all at once, making the situation worse than ever. He reminded Lucius to hurry up because if they encountered someone using a spirit sword here, it would be hard to escape safely. The number of monsters being eliminated was faster than expected. Luckily, they had iPhone C. This guy knew the princess's location, so he would be the main character today. Arya faced the wave of strong monsters, asking adventurers to do their best not to let any get through. She herself stood out to deal with the giants in the maze. At this moment, while planning to evacuate, Isa announced about the monsters disguised as humans. Seeing the situation was not good, Haruto had to take action again. Although this group is quite weak, their appearance here surely has some ulterior motive. With top-notch skills, all the humanoid monsters were eliminated, leaving everyone grateful. Surprisingly, the two people he just saved are Chloe's mother and sister. She approached to ask what happened and was told about the strong benefactor who stood up to protect them. The reason she left the battlefield was due to humanoid monsters breaking in. This is unreasonable, so we need to report to Lislot to uncover the real conspiracy within the mansion. At this moment, Hiroaki and the others are still sitting down explaining the situation to him. Monster attacks don't happen frequently, especially not with such a terrifying number. Seeing he knows nothing, the Duke's son laughed but ended up getting scolded by his father and had to apologize. The evacuation is more stable now. A few soldiers received the signal and came to assist. Following Lestat's orders, they would be transferred to the priority area within the mansion. Hearing that he was relieved to take his two wives to safety, Alphonse successfully led Lucius to infiltrate without being detected by AI. He also asked it to do his part and not touch the princess. As for the others, they can kill or do whatever they want. iPhone C is very confident even though he knows there's a hero inside, claiming he is stronger than Minoto now, so no worries. At this moment, a soldier overheard the conversation and came out to check. Unfortunately, he was also taken down by Lucius in an instant. The people inside just realized how close they were when the monsters entered this place. The incident was too surprising because the guards outside didn't report anything. iPhone C also commanded his subordinates to attack, leaving the captain astonished by their strength. Even though he had reinforced his strength, the slash didn't have much effect. Hiroaki had to pull Flora aside, but the situation didn't look good, as there were too many monsters while the hero hadn't awakened his powers yet. Seeing them still advancing, Hiroaki activated the Holy Sword and this time successfully pulled it out. Alphonse stepped up to confront him because he had been annoyed by this guy for a long time. Since he had never fought before, he ended up getting knocked out on the spot. Rowana and the princess find themselves in a dangerous situation. The Duke is the next target since he is always making things difficult for iPhone C. He tried to resist but was immediately beaten to a pulp. Seeing his father threaten, the son tried to rush in but it was useless. Rowana saw that they hadn't targeted her yet, so she told Flora to run ahead while she bought time hoping to escape. The little princess didn't want to leave her friend behind but was pushed away, fearing that if they hesitated, everyone would die. The captain struggled to create an opportunity to catch the attention of iPhone C. He thought he was too strong, feeling great, laughing like it was harvest time. At that moment, a voice suddenly called for the princess from outside. So her friend pressed Flora to leave without realizing it was a trap. Rowana used magic to block the door, making her friend outside anxious. Lucius simply completed the kidnapping job while the people and soldiers below had no idea what was happening. Above, Haruto's group was taken to Lislot's location, allowing Aisa to sense signs of a monster. Kia also stepped up to thank Min for his timely help in pushing back the enemy. Putting that aside for now, she asked if any demons had infiltrated here because she felt something very strange, but Lislot assured her everything was fine since there were guards patrolling. Her intuition as a spirit was never wrong, so he had to mention that there was a monster above, but since this was a concentrated area, making a big deal out of it would definitely cause chaos. Lislot stated that Kia's room belonged to a hero and a princess, so it was particularly safe, but they still needed to send someone to check. Then Flora was pulled away like a dog asking who they were. Lucius called the ones inside enhanced monsters, knowing they were targeting him, leaving the princess unable to do anything more. Although Lucius had completed his task, he found it boring to leave like this. He wanted to see Roa's face after realizing she had handed her friend over to the kidnapper. Just thinking about that was enough to get him excited. Flora glared with hatred, which only excited Lucius more. Ray then appeared urging his teammates to hurry and not stall anymore. He sensed that the human-like spirit had entered this mansion, but according to his assessment they couldn't confront the main group's team, so they needed to avoid being discovered. Hearing this, Kia agreed to threaten the princess with a knife, telling her to stay silent or he would cut off her beautiful legs. Ray was a bit worried that this guy was always caught up in excitement. Inside, Roana had managed to hold out for a while until the hero woke up while the other warriors were exhausted. The light bullet she shot at iPhone C felt like a mere scratch, not even knowing what had just hit them. He laughed at their defeat. Hiroaki was furious after being hit, using his rage to amplify his magical power. It erupted, treating the monsters like mere pests. Thanks to that, his slash successfully took down 2 at once. Seeing this scene, iPhone C felt a bit shy, unsure of what had happened. Rana was also in danger, but Hiroaki rushed in, spinning around to deliver a stunning slash that took out their heads in an instant. Alphonse was left all alone, helpless against the powers of the hero from another world. Hiroaki's power was water, which created a wave that knocked the bastard Gia away. Thus the people below discovered this, and iPhone C had to flee, as there was nothing to gain for now. Ray had anticipated this move, knocking the young man down to the ground. He didn't expect that the kid could awaken his powers right here. iPhone C was ordered outside, because there were many interesting things waiting. He also created a few more humanoid demons to assist while causing chaos to help his teammates safely escort the little princess away. The townspeople saw this scene, and immediately ran away, causing chaos. The soldiers formed a defensive barrier to block their advance, protecting everyone. Haruto saw this and had to join the fight to calm things down. With its ears it heard the cry for help from Flora. Lucius ran past, but stopped, throwing out a few taunts. She tried to warn about Rona and the hero being in danger, but continued to be threatened with having her legs cut off. From here Rio remembered the face of the enemy, always searching for that image, which made him lose his composure. Celia and Isa sensed something. Sai also had to help eliminate the demons to keep them at bay. The current number of monsters was too large compared to the soldiers' defensive capabilities. Lizlot's maid team hadn't returned to the city, making it even more difficult. Just when ambushed by a monster, the elf girls stepped in to help, and coincidentally the maid team had returned. Since they were also ordered to protect the civilians, the teacher encouraged Rio, seeing the main character's sad face, to feel a little more at ease. Handing this place over to the 2 girls, Celia used magic to create an earth wall to trap the monsters inside. AI was fine. Haruto trusted to protect the teacher, and everyone promising to bring the princess back, then immediately shot off, leaving Lizlot confused. The 2 girls then deployed a barrier to envelop all the civilians. Isa took on the responsibility of reducing the number of monsters to a safe level. Witnessing the magic ability of her new friend, Lizlot was greatly surprised, because even the royal mages couldn't create so many barriers. Seeing Isa outside, she was a bit worried, but was reassured by Celia, saying that her friend was as strong as a man, so there was no need to worry. Even without a weapon, the elf's superior abilities could easily knock out the monsters. Seeing these guys too stubborn, she had to borrow a weapon from Chloe to stab them to death. This scene made Lizlot believe that what Celia said was true, wondering if this duo was really AI and that strong. Above, iPhone C was observing, realizing that the girl he met last night was fighting, and felt quite curious. He wants to destroy himself because that day he was humiliated by alcohol. The shrimp mob charged in, but they were sliced in half. Seeing this, iPhone C ordered them to break the barrier and attack Celia, since she was also a target that day. In terms of power after the transformation, he was strong enough to hold his ground against Isa. While the teacher's barrier was slowly being destroyed, making the situation tense, she continued to use earth magic to trap them, but it was a bit exhausting. One managed to escape and lunged to grab her. Seeing this, Isa shot her weapon to protect Alphonse, thinking the little one couldn't harm her. However, every attack was easily dodged. The female servants also tossed a weapon to the fairy girl, successfully stabbing the guy, causing him pain, but Alphonse was a stronger enhanced species, so he didn't die from that hit. Isa was quite surprised, but then gently knocked it away so she wouldn't be bothered. At the main spot, he was able to trace the footsteps left by that guy based on speed. Indeed, the guy was very fast, but with his incredible speed ability, Haruto successfully blocked Lucius's path. Quite shocking, yet he could still catch up. Of course, this guy didn't realize he was AI, as he had white hair. Rio's gaze was unbearable as he faced his eternal enemy. Switching scenes to Miharu, who happened to glance back at Rio's past. He lived peacefully with his mother when he was young. Men wondered why only her family's hair was black while the villagers' was not. She explained it was because her father and mother came from a faraway place not from here. The next development was truly heartbreaking when Lucius killed Min's mother right before her eyes. Miharu also witnessed her friend kill a strong enemy for revenge. When she woke up, she was very shocked, not understanding why she dreamed of that scene. Back to Haruto, who was now silent in front of the scoundrel. In fact, he was hoping that the guy would chase him to fight. The young man demanded to see the face to confirm the identity of the one who killed his mother years ago, as he still had a hostage in hand. Therefore, Haruto tried to act uninterested, but if he threatened Flora, the game would be over. The young man said he had always been searching for him and called his name, surprising the guy, asking if something was going on with him. Then he said he would kill him. Hearing that, Lucius laughed with delight, realizing that Rio was the one bound to the dark spirit. However, he had never met it before. Wondering how he knew him after closely looking at that face, Haruto was sure this was the guy that needed to be eliminated. This guy put on a calm face, also asking if he wanted to kill him shouldn't he show anger? He was very curious about what his true identity as AI was. In his subconscious, he had never met anyone with silver hair before. Seeing the question, Rio didn't answer, so this guy struck first, throwing a knife. Every piece of equipment on him is top-notch, immune to damage like that. Lucius is really unfair playing like that. AI playing back. Haruto finds him hilarious. Since this is a revenge battle, why play fair? Seeing Rio's defense was too good, he pulled out his cursed sword to use. At first, Min also suffered because Kia had a hostage in hand. A careless slash can cost a life. He tried to counterattack but got kicked out. Seeing the young man not using his full strength, Kia realized that the princess was indeed an important person on the other side. Isa and Celia are still struggling to fend off the humanoid monsters continuously appearing, targeting the fairy girl. Lizlot's soldiers are exhausted, unable to counterattack. The situation on both sides is very tense. Haruto feels that Lucius's technique is very strange. The sword blade suddenly extends. It's unclear if it's magic or something else, but not letting him run wild. The main character teleports behind and lunges to slash, forcing him to slow down. This is a huge shock as he can't sense the presence of the main character at all. Rio above skillfully launches annoying attacks just enough to deal damage if they hit, but not letting Flora get hurt. Suddenly, Lucius feels that she is a burden, so he wants to let her go to retaliate. He's still wondering how he could forget such a master like this in SAO, because he doesn't remember anything at all. So he guesses that back then Rio was just a child, which is why he forgot. He complains that this fighting style is boring and wants to negotiate a bit, asking to play with his cards face up. Due to having too many enemies, he can't remember each one. If he agrees to reveal his identity, he will let the princess go and fight normally rather than being killed by someone he doesn't know how that feels. Hearing that, Rio realizes that this guy is very focused on him, which could be an advantage. So the young man doesn't even want to say anything more. Seeing that Lucius has to press his sword against Flora's neck to threaten her, but he still doesn't change his expression, Haruto calls him a coward. He has already kidnapped someone, and still intends to harm her, knowing that even if he pressures Rio, he still won't talk. So this guy starts making guesses. Of course, if he has fought with someone as strong as him before, he won't forget now. So it proves that back then when they met he was still just a child. Haruto's silence confirms that the answer is correct. However, it's still unknown when and where they met, and what happened, that made Haruto want to kill him. He agrees to let the person go first in exchange for information about the true identity of the main character. After that, there will be a fair battle between both sides. That seems reasonable. The young man thinks that making such a condition is very beneficial for him. In fact, Lucius is very confident, thinking that he will be able to capture Flora again, which is why he proposes the deal. The girl is released but still has to stand between both sides, threatened by the monsters around. If she dares to run, she will surely be eaten by them, so he signals her to stay silent and not reveal any information. He keeps his word, stating that their grudge started 15 years ago. Back then, he lived in the capital of the Belcham Kingdom. Hearing that, Flora is very surprised and begins to realize the true identity of the main character. At that time, Lucius had taken notice of a small family and attacked his mother. Hearing that this guy remembers everything, so he smiles widely, calling him the boy from Iagumo, but he didn't recognize him because of the change in hair color. He was very pleased to know that Min was still alive, as he really wanted to spare Rio's life at that moment. Lucius recounted the transformation from a weak boy to the swordsman. He was now truly miraculous. He claimed he had always awaited this moment for the strong to seek revenge. Remembering back then, Rio was deceived by this guy into drinking some kind of potion. The pain of losing all his loved ones had always left him with a wound that words couldn't describe. On that day, fate led the protagonist to meet Celia's group. Although the initial impression of the protagonist was terrible, he gradually became accustomed to it. That day was also when Rio formed a pact with Isa, simultaneously receiving power from her. The protagonist's new journey began here after saving Flora. He returned AI only to find himself being attacked by those little Kias. A bit older, the young man met his grandparents and also visited his deceased parents' graves here. He recounted the reasons for his parents' deaths, knowing that this was very painful for his father. Since birth they had been gone, so he had no idea. However, when she was alive, his mother often spoke about her husband. In Rio's eyes, his mother was very kind, always wearing a smile. That's why he didn't feel sad about the absence of his father. In general, the two of them had very happy days together. However, when he turned 5, tragedies struck, taking his mother's life. The reason Rio has always been strong until now is to take revenge on the bastard who took everything from him. Lucius continued to provoke, claiming that his pleasure was to ruin the lives of others. After realizing Rio was the child from that year, he found new motivation to fight back. Min was quite happy that the guy was still as rotten as ever, so he would kill him without a second thought. Remembering back then, this guy was told by his mother about his noble lineage from his maternal side. Haruto was actually the grandson of the kingdom's ruler. He admitted that his mother was indeed a loving person, even begging for her son's life while dying. Mentioning the name Rio, Flora realized that he was the one who had saved her countless times from childhood until now. The conversation also ended to continue playing. Just as he finished speaking, suddenly, Haruto sliced off one of his arms without him understanding how. He couldn't believe someone like him was outpaced in speed by 7 times, so he charged forward, overwhelming with both strength and swordsmanship. The opponent was very surprised by the continuous increase of Rio's mana. Occasionally he would make a quick dash that left the guy helpless, only able to run, but Haruto remained calm, standing still and launching a deadly long-range attack. The entire forest seemed to be illuminated by their battle, yet the young man had attacked so many times. But there was no sign of slowing down. Even Lucius had to admit this guy was definitely a monster, not a human. Not only did he wield swordsmanship, but he also unleashed spirit magic to lock down movement, preventing the prey from escaping. Frustrated, the bastard rushed in close, but couldn't inflict any damage, constantly getting tossed around. However, this guy was tough and kept provoking. Flora, seeing the bloodshed, was scared and didn't dare to move. After taking damage from the spirit magic, Lucius's organs began to suffer severely, and blood was continuously flowing out, clouding his mind. He wanted to reconnect his arm right away, but Rio noticed and approached to burn it with fire to avoid having to reattach it. Haruto intended to end the encounter here, but the other guy dodged the slash, yet still got kneed right in the face, rolling over. There Rio thrust his sword down, but Lucius stubbornly refused to die. Seeing that, he decided to channel heat into the sword to erase this guy from the world. The guy screamed in pain, but was still sharp enough to pull a trick using the knife that was discarded to rush toward the little princess. Haruto had to stop to defend, so he continued attacking from a distance, but this time it was ineffective. Ray had arrived to help his buddies, even taunting Lucius with one hand. "You got wrecked so hard. You should have just left instead of playing around." Rio demanded to leave the guy behind, but it wasn't that easy. They knew they wanted to escape. Rio insulted, "Are you telling Lucius to run like a dog? Or do you want me to wait another 15 minutes to take his life?" Hearing that was too harsh, this guy was trying to dry out but got restrained. With a wound this severe, he would definitely die, but a teammate had given him some support. So the thing to do now was to retreat, because I was already fully prepared. He was very confident in escaping and hiding his presence. AI, distant on the side, sensed something and needed to warn, so he looked up at the sky. He had prepared a dragon to deal with him, and Haruto was submerged in a sea of flames, causing the sisters on the side to panic. However, Isa sensed that he was fine, so she told Celia to remove the barrier. As for the main character, after letting the enemy escape, he was quite frustrated, not understanding how they could call the dragon to attack like that. Flora, after realizing his true identity was Rio, called out his name and wanted to apologize, thanking him for saving her multiple times, but ended up getting him falsely accused at the academy, resulting in his expulsion. Rio gently replied, "I don't deserve thanks from a princess," then pushed her away, making her very sad, fearing that she was making the young man angry. Haruto said if she wanted to apologize for the past, she should forget the name Rio. Hearing that she agreed to keep this secret, not revealing it to AI, silently apologizing to the princess for not being able to admit it now. The city was now safe, making everyone rejoice. Lizlot also thanked the two girls, as it was thanks to them that the situation here was resolved. "However, we still need to deal with the aftermath immediately, so AI advised her not to worry about us and to go help everyone." The teacher also said there was a chance of recovery, so she would lend a hand. Warrior's room was currently filled with many injured people. The Duke asked about the situation outside, and Rowana advised him not to talk so he could focus on treatment. At this moment, Lizlot arrived and was also updated on the situation. Celia also stepped in to recover in place of this friend. That girl mentioned that suddenly, a group of monsters had invaded here. "Thanks to Hirawaki, we were able to push them back, but he is currently unconscious." When asked about the princess, it was found out that she had been taken by a strange man. Hearing that, Rowana realized she was the one who caused that and felt very sad. She had tried to help Flora escape but unexpectedly fell into the enemy's trap. The others felt that the decision back then was very accurate, so for now they could only pray that Haruto would bring her back. Thanks to Celia's recovery, the Duke's wounds improved significantly. Praise her talent. AI also reported that they had returned, which made AI happy. He had to apologize to the two wives for making them worry. Lizlot was also relieved to see Miss Flora safe, as it would be hard to explain if the princess was kidnapped in this land. Unfortunately, the mastermind had escaped. Haruto requested to hand the princess over to them, but she refused, still pretending to have a sore foot to be carried by the young man a little longer. But seeing the affectionate scene with the teacher, she felt a bit jealous. Lancelot also asked about the kidnapper, and Haruto said he knew the man's true identity. More accurately, he had known that guy for a long time. When Lucius appeared in the mansion, he recognized the familiar voice from the past. When asked how they knew each other, he said the two sides had a grudge that needed to be settled. The scene shifted to Jay and his gang. Lucius was in pretty bad shape as his organs were burned by Rio. That guy had to let him play with stones to hold on, as Lucius was an important card that could not be allowed to die at this time. He thought that if he still had both arms intact, he would have won against Jay. Denying that, Jay said with his current strength he couldn't possibly defeat Rio. This is the price for having underestimated the enemy's strength earlier. The warning wire had already said not to confront, but they didn't listen, so this time both had to accept the fact that they had failed in the mission to kidnap the princess. In the future, the guy advised his friend not to be curious about meeting Haruto, and he also didn't want to hear excuses from Lucius because he was indeed much weaker than the other side. On the other side, after seeing Flora was still safe, everyone felt relieved. The Duke once again had to express his gratitude. Thanks to the main group, everything had settled down. He was about to leave when Lancelot stopped him, saying her night team was about to return and wanted the three of them to stay here and rest instead of going anywhere else. Because the situation was too dangerous, both sides held a meeting to discuss the kidnapper, and of course they had to invite Haruto to join. Since he was the only one who knew about that guy, Celia noticed Flora's expression looking at Rio was quite strange and was curious about what had happened between them. Once back in the room, she made tea for the two of them, which wasn't great since she had let the enemy escape. At the same time, she mentioned that Princess Flora had discovered her identity, but from her teacher's perspective that girl wouldn't tell AI about it, so there was no need to worry. Celia also assured that because she understood her little sister very well. Hearing that, he felt relieved. After this incident, Haruto thought it was quite dangerous to stay here for long, so he requested to return to the spirit village as it would be tough if those people found out the teacher's identity. So right after the meeting, they would head back to the village. He had also received information about the warrior Sasuke, who was one of the two people Miharu was looking for. Isa had no objections, just asked if he was sure he would return. During this time he said he was fine, which was good. Celia asked about the grudge between him and Lucius, and since it wasn't good to keep her curious, Rio recounted how that bastard had killed his mother right in front of him and that he might also be the one who dealt with his father. Hearing that, Celia was very sad as it brought back painful memories. However, he felt okay because he intended to tell the teacher anyway, but he hated that guy to the bone, so he had an answer for when they crossed paths again, and he definitely had to eliminate him completely. The things he told her were known to only a few people, so Celia was quite happy to be among them. He requested that next time, if something happened, he should ask for her opinion first. Rio agreed because he knew that no matter what, the teacher would always stand by his side. A little later, the emergency meeting took place. Previously, Flora had already shared some information, so they needed Haruto to confirm it. The Duke stated that he knew about Lucius. Currently, his whereabouts were unclear, but in the past, this guy was a low-ranking noble and also a candidate for the king's swordsman position. The reason he wasn't chosen was that his family had fallen before that time. If not, Lucius would have been the one protecting the king by now. Based on that, Rona thought he must hate their country, which is why he kidnapped the princess for revenge. Lancelot wasn't sure about anything yet because there was still another person, namely Jay, whom the Duke also knew, who was the ambassador of the Prussia Empire, but since she hadn't seen his face, she didn't know if they were the same person. Both Haruto and Flora hadn't seen that guy's face clearly, so the best thing now was to find Lucius, the one whose identity they knew. Lancelot also requested to investigate in her own way. By the way, she also asked about Main's schedule. He said he would have to leave here for a while because of an urgent matter. In that case, the girl wants to prepare a thank you gift right away, but the modest guy refuses to accept it. Not to mention, this place just went through an attack, still in a busy phase, so I hope everyone doesn't feel forced. The princess also wants to show her gratitude and asks if Min has any wishes. Hearing that Haruto requests to attend the hero's banquet to meet the warrior Sasuke along with a few others a few days later in the spirit village. Bachelor of Arts life is really good right now. They can communicate like locals without any difficulties. Miharu also makes scrambled eggs for everyone, making everyone happy. At this moment, Latifa feels her big brother is back and immediately runs to greet him. Miharu reacts to this as well, nearly spilling 2 plates of rice. Outside, Rio has returned, making his little sister extremely happy. They hug each other as if they haven't seen each other for years. He is very happy to see Latifa healthy like this. The others also come out to greet. Masato brags about their achievements. They have learned the language here, doubling the joy. Min also informs Bachelor of Arts that they found Sasuke because she has become a warrior of the Galactic Kingdom. Unfortunately, there is still no news about Aki's big brother, but the fact that that girl has become a warrior here means he is too, so don't worry. From now until a month later there will be a reunion party. By then he wants to bring the 3 of them along to reunite. This way, it will be clear. Latifa also invites her brother to celebrate because sister Miharu makes delicious scrambled eggs. She sees Haruto so happy and suddenly remembers the image from her dream. A little later, Min also requests a plate of rice instead of making any complicated dishes. She claims to really enjoy her food, which motivates her to say she will try to make more delicious dishes for everyone.